you because I wanted to invite, we try to invite students from different parts of the world. And now we're again developing in the Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Because we're developing collaboration with, so we work with Technical University Munich, Frankfurt School, St. Gallen. So we develop our GMAT courses through collaborations, University of Zurich as well, through collaborations with schools. So when we said, okay, we make sense that we don't have just Spanish, Indian, French, Italian, and Belgium students, that we have also students from the GAST. Okay, so that's why we've invited you, and I think that we'll invite your sister. I don't know, probably later on, because you were both my students. So, Nikolaus, can you introduce yourself to our students?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Labak, or Nikolaus Labak. I am 28 years old. I'm actually from Austria, but I've lived kind of across the globe for my entire life, but have mainly studied in Germany and in France. I did my Bachelor in General Management at EBS University in near Frankfurt here. Took a gap year, did some internships in between, then completed my GMAT during that gap year, and then thankfully was accepted into ESSEC, and then completed my Master in Finance at ESSEC, and then through the internships that I was doing between my Bachelor and my Master, I then joined Citi in London as an investment banking analyst, and then during Brexit was transferred or decided to rejoin Citi here in Germany, and have recently become an investment banking associate. So that's just a brief intro on me.
Okay. So basically, yeah, you see, so we have invited Nikolaus because he's already he graduated and he has some feedback. Alors, so basically, yes, to tell you, so basically, you understand about Nikolaus. So of course, he corresponds pretty well to what schools are looking for, and that is international. By the way, you speak English better than you speak German. That's what you told me one day. No,
correct. That's still true, unfortunately, even after all these years in Germany.
Because you consider really that English is your mother tongue. By the way, you're American. By the way, are you American as well? Yes,
I was not anymore.
You were, but you're not anymore. Okay, so there are probably other reasons. So you were when you were my student, you were American, I believe. Okay, probably you denied your nationality. So you're Austrian now, and so basically, you went to EBS. That was at that time one of the best business school in Germany, the best one. You told me that they have declined a bit. That's what you told me.
They've gone through a couple of rough patches, yes.
Okay, so it seems that now the number one seems to be WHU. Probably you agree.
Correct.
Picking up. You get
and
a lot of students from WHU and Mannheim as well. Okay, so they tend to do better. But you were at that time a graduate from a top school, and of course the strength of your application was your internships, because you already had a lot of experience during that time. Okay, why so many internships? So can you tell us about your work experience before starting ESSEC?
Yeah, so I think...
And why so much work experience?
I think the key point here is, I think it's up to everybody what they want to do in life. For me, it was always relatively clear that I want to work in finance, but I didn't really know what area in finance I wanted to work in. So the number of internships that I pursued were a broad range, from private banking to risk management to private equity, and then investment banking at Citi. And then I ended up doing these number of internships to basically inform myself what I would like to do in life. And I think that's a key point to my journey is that I figured out after, I think it was my fourth and fifth internship, that kind of told me I want to go into the world of, I would say, more private equity, investment banking direction, was the last two internships. And that was for me the key moment where I decided, look, a master in finance is the right decision, because now I know I want to focus on this specific area. And then I think Hubert and myself, we looked at a number of universities that were right at the moment. And then I think the thing that I liked most about ESSEC was that they are very practical. and that they have a specific focus within the Master in Finance program for corporate finance. So I did all these internships to figure out personally where I want to work later on in life. I figured that out, and then acting on what I'd learned about myself, I then decided to pursue a degree that fit to myself as well. So I think that's kind of the key reasoning behind all the internships that I've done, is that you always need to inform on your next step that you're going to take in life, because otherwise you're making an uninformed decision.
It was the idea. So of course, as you know, you're not familiar with the others, but it happens to me that I have students, for instance, from just one school, who have just one internship, and I would say even like 8-week internship, because usually they are pretty young, because they never had an opportunity to do an internship, or what they did was really not interesting. Okay, of course you were made aware at a young age that you had to gain work experience. At the same time, you have to say that you have a father who was achieved in this business, and probably he also was after you, and probably was also advising you, probably.
Sure.
You agree?
Absolutely.
And he told you, so you were born in the right family. Okay. By the way, both you and your sister work in finance, because Isabella worked in assets management. Okay. Yes, because Nikolaus' father is a Wharton graduate, so his father did his MBA at Wharton and had a career in the finance sector. He has been even the CEO of a bank, from what I know. He has been the CEO of a bank. So he had an incredible career in his field. So probably, of course, he was born in the right family, and the father was a great piece of advice. Alors, basically, it's interesting that we have you, because you graduated some time ago now. So can you tell us how it works to become an investment banker? Because all the students who are here, for some that I know, basically, yes, some of them want to become investment bankers. By the way, Xenia, can you invite Sarah and Simon to join? Okay, it will be interesting. Okay. Ask them to come now. Okay. So what is it? What is the process? Because of course, a lot of my students who complete MIF, what is the process when you want to become an investment banker, Nikolaus? Is it difficult? How long does it take? What is sought after by schools? How does it work?
I think that there are two ways you can answer that question. I will answer from my experience, and then I will tell you what I've seen as part of the recruiting team at Citi. So I think my way is probably the easiest way. I would say it's the simplest way to do it. So I got an internship in between my bachelor and my master at Citi in investment banking. It required prior knowledge of, I would say, but that's very specific to Germany. Within the UK, that varies quite a lot, but also in the French banking market, M&A advisors or investment banks would like to see that you have previous investment banking or corporate finance work experience. That usually means that you do an internship at a less glamorous M&A firm. So, for example, let's say you're applying for Goldman Sachs. Your first internship was done at a boutique French M&A advisor or a German boutique M&A advisor for small and mid-cap businesses. So that's kind of the usual way that you go about it. And then once you have that first internship, that gives you your way in the door. And then that was my way. Basically, I then interviewed for an off-cycle or placement analyst position during the year. It's easier to get in during placement analyst times than it is for the summer program. The summer program is a lot more competitive because you're fighting everyone at the same time. When you do the placement analysts, you're not fighting with everybody because not everybody always has time during the year to do a 3 to 6 month internship. That really depends on the person. That's why I took the gap year in between my bachelor and my master to really focus on that. And then basically you have to perform extremely well in your job or during your internship, and then you get a return offer. So by the time I had entered ESSEC in September, I had an offer from Citi in October, at the beginning of October. So basically, by the time once you've performed well in your internship, it's not always guaranteed, but you're highly likely to get called back and be asked to return to Citi as a full-time analyst the next year. The other way you can do it, which is I find the more complicated way, is that I would say you do your internships and you try everything you want to, and then you try to apply directly for a full-time position. This is usually more competitive, I would say, just simply through the selection process, because you have something called assessment days or super days at the end of the day, where everybody comes in on one day and you interview against your peer group. And I think, obviously, if you're applying to these places, you all have the skills and you all have the required necessary kind of backdrop. But at the end of the day, you will redo a math test, a logic test, group work, kind of trying to gauge your understanding of economic and news. There are multiple sides to the interview process. And if you don't shine in all of them, then you won't get the offer. That's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Where it differs highly between cultures, I would say, is in the British recruiting system, you're not required to have a prior knowledge of finance. I had people, when I joined City in London, I had people that had studied philosophy or psychology at Oxford or Cambridge or wherever, and had basically no idea about finance. But City hired them nonetheless because they were interesting, smart, brilliant people in their respective fields. Where the German and French model is highly trimmed towards your technical skills and understanding already how valuation works, how finance and accounting works. This is, in my experience, necessary to succeed in the continental European kind of investment banking world. If you're in the British investment banking world, it's not a requirement, but you need to catch on very, very quickly. That's expected of you when you join. You will have trainings to do that, but those are the two routes you can go to enter an investment bank, I would say, within the British and the continental European scene.
Well, basically, you see, Nikolaus, a lot of my students tell me, oh, I want to go into private equity because life as an investment banker may be too difficult, okay? I don't want to work so much. I know that you're a hard worker because you are my student, so I know that you work hard. So what it is like the first years? Is it better when you get promoted associate? I already have the assignment, by the way, with completing an internship in investment bank. So who will tell us, because he's an intern, but of course he's much younger than you. He's finishing his studies. Is it really what we say, or it's not that bad? What would you say?
I mean, you have to know what you're signing up for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. If you don't like to work, that's not the place for you. You will not succeed. People won't like you. Investment banking is, in my experience, a highly competitive but also teamwork oriented field. If you're not a team player, if you're not motivated, don't bother turning up. It is tough, but if you want to learn quickly and kind of move through the ranks as quickly as possible, then it gives you a great opportunity. I think investment banking, for my type of personality that I have, gave me the best start that I could ask for in a career, because it forced me kind of to confront things very directly head on. It teaches you to deal with people, to deal with conflicts. If it's external or internal, it really depends. But for me, I think, you always hear about these 100-hour weeks in the press and whatever. Yes, that happens, absolutely. But is it like that every day of every week of every year? Absolutely not. You have a very strong, I would say, cultural shift that has happened during COVID, I would say, where there's a lot bigger focus on well-being, and really ensuring that the time that you have off is off. And that was never prior to COVID, I would say. There was always a little bit of a gray area, but now there's a real focus, because there is just, COVID was very hard. We all worked more than we'd worked before, but now it's kind of made banks realize, there is a quality of life that needs to be maintained in order to make sure that people don't burn out or, just continue to run on a normal basis and can enjoy their life. So yes, it is tough. Yes, the hours can be long, but at the end of the day, if you have a tough 2-3 weeks, the staffer or your banker will know that, and he will give you some time off, in the sense of, yes, you're still working, but it won't be till 4 a.m. every day. You'll be off at 8, 9, 10 p.m. and you can enjoy the evening. You can go out, and then you come into the office the next day, and and you do that for 1 or 2 weeks, and then it starts over again with a more tough process, I would say. But there has been a very big shift, I would say, culturally speaking, at least, within the banking world, that people understand it's tough, but they also make sure that when you have time off, you're off.
Okay, so that's something. And you work less as an associate or more?
I think it's a different type of work. I wouldn't say that I work less. It gets better, yes. I'm not pulling all-nighters 5 days in a row, obviously, but it's a different type of business. You learn to manage people a little bit more. You're less focused on delivering kind of technical sides, but you learn the technicals as an analyst. And then in order to get to a position as an associate, you need to have full understanding and control of the technicals. Otherwise, you can't work together with your analyst or your vice president to make sure that it runs in the right way. So I would say the work is a different type of work. And it's not necessarily more or less. It's just you're one step above, but you're still working with the team. So if the team works long, you work long. That's very simple. So that's what I would say. It gets better the higher up you go, but my directors also work till 2 a.m. sometimes. It just really depends on the deal that you're on at the moment.
Sometimes they are paid well, huh? Let's say that they have to consider it's the price. Or they go to work as civil servant, they will finish at 6 o'clock, but the salary is not the same. You know that, by the way, my son is at JP Morgan. I have a son with an M&A analyst in the UK at JP Morgan. I have one of my son Armand is an analyst there. He finished ESCP last year and he's working there. So it's the same thing. So he told me that he's allowed to get 1 weekend off now, which was not the case before.
Exactly.
Remember that I used to work with many Rothschild analysts or associates wanted to prepare MBAs, okay? And so they were my students long time ago, so I prepared them for the bachelor. So I had to teach them Sunday from 7 to 9 in the morning before they go to work, okay? Which was not fun, to tell you the truth. So, but I did that for them, like for 1 month, 2 months. That's okay, I think, to help them. But and they were working 7 out of 7. But I could see that now they have 1 weekend off, for instance. You see? Well, alors, remember, Nikolaus, so it's very important what he's telling you because you understand the process. So, when I tell you, Simon, but etc., because you're into that. But when I say, please have an internship in investment bank, because of course, or in private equity or in asset management, because they want to make sure that it at least schools that you know what it is, okay? And of course, employers, it's even more so, okay? And so sometimes that's what I say. I was saying the same thing to Pierre-Marc, who is with us. Are you with us, Pierre-Marc? Yeah. I said it's preferable that you work in a small investment bank, M&A boutique in Ireland, than Ernst & Young in France, because it will be perceived better, even though the name is not as fancy as Ernst & Young, but at the same time, if you want to work as an investment banker, at least you know what it is. So tell me, Nikolaus, I remember, if I'm wrong, that you got accepted to LBS and ESSEC.
LBS, Imperial, and ESSEC. Correct.
Okay, ESSEC Imperial, but ESSEC, LBS at that time, they didn't have an MFA. They had an MFA, they didn't have a Master in Finance. They had one. I think that they had an MIM at that time. Okay.
Correct. It was the MIM at LBS. It was the Master in Finance at ESSEC and at Imperial.
Okay. Okay. And it's true that being Austrian American, whatever, your sister had studied at LBS before. Why have you preferred ESSEC to LBS? Is it because of the spirit of the country? The spirit of the program? You prefer an MIF to an MIM? At the same time, I know that you speak French. Have you lost your French? No, you speak French.
Non, je parle français, c'est pas un problème. On peut parler français.
Tu parles bien maintenant. Yeah, you spent 1 year in France. Yeah. Yep. But have you lost it? No, because you. And
I've lost the fluency that I had, but I still understand everything.
Yeah, you understand. Yeah, it's true that, and plus you live sometime in the south of France. Plus you okay. So have you been to ESSEC because you like France? Have you been to ESSEC because you prefer the spirit of the school? Have you been to ESSEC because it was an MIF versus an MIM? Because that's also something that I'm trying to say. You see, Nikolaus, is that now INSEAD has launched an MIM. And I'm trying to say to my students that with an MIM from INSEAD, and same thing for LBS, the brand being very strong, you can still get into investment banking with an MIM from LBS or INSEAD. Am I wrong? Would you rectify? What about your case? If you can discuss that. Yeah.
I think for me, the decision was because I did a bachelor in general management. If I do a master in management, I'm not really specializing in anything, to say. Not that a master in finance specializes you, but it puts you more in a certain direction. I think also when you choose between an MIM and an MIF, you need to be very aware of the fact that an MIF is a lot more mathematical than an MIM is. Just through the courses that you get offered, yes, you may have an overlap, but you will not be doing linear algebra in MIM. You will be doing linear algebra for options calculations in an MIF. So for me, I just made a conscious decision that I want to focus in finance, and that's why I went with an MIF. But I also highly understood the appeal of a kind of diverse and open MIM program, because then you can tailor the program to your needs. And maybe that's changed at LBS now, but I think at the time you had a number of base courses that was relatively straightforward, and you had a lot of flexibility in deciding what you want to do in between that. So I think it really depends on the person. And then why I chose France, I think, as you said, it was, I'd lived in Belgium and in France as a child, but I was losing the language a little bit because I hadn't been to France in a while. And I said, look, before I lose the language now, I might as well go to France, because the school, I think culturally, I like ESSEC a lot because it's very pragmatic and very focused on getting you a job, but it's also highly academic. So the environment, I think, was the right one for me. And that's why I ended up choosing ESSEC, because I think it's not in Paris. You're a little bit outside. You're more focused on your studies. You know, if you have a big city around, let's say ESCP, is in Paris. You know, I know people who did their MIM at ESCP who did amazing, and then I know people who totally went into the city and just, you know, wanted to go to ESCP because it was in Paris. But for me, I chose the MIF at ESSEC because it was outside Paris. You could focus on your studies, and there was a keen commitment from the university and from the faculty to get you a job and ensure that you're academically performing well, with a great support network. So that's that for me. But I can definitely say yes, it's beneficial to come from a university that has a good name, because we don't always say it, I would say. I mean, every investment bank, you know, has recruiting events at certain universities, and these usually include St. Gallen, ESSEC, WHU, you know, just a number of universities that have a good name. That doesn't mean that if you come from a university that doesn't have a good name, that you won't get in. But it just, I would say, makes life a little bit easier, because when people look at your CV, and I can tell you from the perspective of somebody who's already been in the recruiting part of the investment bank for analysts, if you're coming from a university that I know or that I've heard of, it automatically just gives you, like, internally in my head, a little tick mark and say, okay, at least he's been there. I know he can't be completely, you know, off the radar. So that I think that makes your life a lot easier if you end up going to places like LBS, INSEAD, ESSEC, HEC, this type of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. I cannot agree more. By the way, you know now that Nikolaus, probably, if I'd worked with you now, probably would have taken a different program. So now I tend to send more students to the US. Now, you know, MIT as an MIF, Columbia as a Master in Accounting and Finance. So it's still difficult because the reputation, but I tend, of course, there was no problem because you were American at that time, but there's also an issue, okay, with papers, okay? But at least I said to my students, if you stay 1 year at MIT, and then you have, you can stay 1 more year, to at least we should, and maybe even more. So it's a great experience as a European, okay? So now we tend to, we have like 2 students now at MIT, thrown in the MIF program, okay? Probably that's something that we'll have targeted now, okay? I will have, by the way, I have Simon, who has, with applying to MIT, will come to testify if you want. So tell me, what it is like. So you told me about the location, etc. So you live in Cergy-Pontoise, or you live near in
I
the
lived
city?
I lived in Cergy. Yeah,
In
I
Cergy.
rented an apartment near Cergy Pontoise, and yeah, I
Yeah.
was near
Because
campus.
it's not the most beautiful city in the world.
No,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
that's definitely not what the school
Coming
shines
from
for.
Austria, coming from Vienna, it must be. But General de Gaulle, he created like 5 new cities. Okay,
Yeah,
and they needed to, they wanted to keep Paris beautiful, they had to create these big cities outside Paris. And it was in the 60s where it was béton, as we say in French,
brutalist.
concrete, everywhere. And of course, today we'll probably build the thing. But the school itself is nice. When you arrive in the school, it's very nice. And
Yeah,
knowing you spend a lot of time at school probably. Okay, so you are studying, working, and then you go back to your. And then when you want to have fun, you take the RER and you go to Paris in
exactly,
30 minutes. So anyway, it's not an issue. So
exactly. Yeah.
I don't know how many of our students here are going to study at ESSEC. ESSEC is picking up definitely the programs. They're doing very well. So now they really compete against INSEAD. And it's a big name now in the field. Uh, so what it is like to study at ESSEC? So you mentioned the city, but the class, what it is in terms of philosophy. I'm sure that you can compare with the sister who has been to LS, to LBS. You have other friends. You have shared experience. What is it? The pros. What is it? The pros and the cons.
Okay, so I mean, from memory, I would say the pros outweigh the cons definitely. I mean, the con, like you said, is that you're not in a big city, you're outside, but the pro side of that is that you're very focused on your studies
Hmm.
and you're focused on the process of getting a job, of your life after university. And I would say from my experience or what I've heard, ESSEC is more academic than others. They have a
Hmm.
very high standard, and it's still very French in that aspect that perfection
Hmm.
can never be achieved. Every professor always says perfection can never be achieved. You will never get a 20 out of 20. You will get a 15, a 16, and that's it. But I think it teaches you a lot about how to approach things in a job. ESSEC is very practical and very academic at the same time. They have a number of preparatory classes for you that you do on the weekends to really prep you for interview processes within investment banks or asset managers or risk managers or private equity funds. They have I can't compare it to another university I've been to. The only thing I have to compare it to is EBS. And there are 5 or 6 job forums that happen every year. Every bank, every asset manager, every, you name it, company is there. So I think the thing that convinced me at the end of the day why I like the SEC is because they have this dual approach to understand the academics very, very, very exact, but then at the same time, you need to have a practical approach to it to really succeed in getting a job afterwards. And I think the rate speaks for itself at ESSEC. I honestly don't know anyone after 5 months after graduation that didn't have a job from ESSEC in my class. So, and they're still usually employed at the same company they joined at after graduation, which speaks to the correctness of the choice they made. Because if you stay in a job longer, obviously you like it and it fits to you. And I think at that selection process, ESSEC is very, very good. I can't really compare it to other universities. I know that LBS, I should say, from peers of mine, approach it pretty much in the
No. Hello?
approach.
Yeah, I have a problem with my. Hello, Nikolaus?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, because I lost you. I don't know. Maybe I didn't have. So basically, it's the right program. So usually, what students say about ESSEC, usually, in general, when you compare ESSEC to other schools, they say probably quality of the professors. Huh? It's the professors they are very good. Practical approach, okay, and of course focused on network. Huh? You agree that's something that comes up. Uh, are you still in contact with with your friends, with ESSEC alumni, or you have worked so hard that and what contacts you make? So how does ESSEC foster alumni relationship post graduation?
I think that's really up to you. ESSEC makes a great job of keeping you in the loop. I get a newsletter every week. I'm not the most active person, I would say, in the alumni network, but I do keep in touch with all my friends. I know a number of them have used the alumni network to find their next job. There are a number of job postings also, later on in life. It doesn't necessarily mean that when you're 35 or, I don't know, 30, that you can't use the alumni network anymore. I was more active in the beginning when I joined at City because I was part of the ESSEC alumni circle in London. That's a very active circle. I think it really depends what country you're in. In France, the alumni network is huge and they do a lot of events. In London, it's massive. But, here in Germany, there are only so many people that come from ESSEC, and especially in Frankfurt. And usually, the funny thing is I've met all of them here in Frankfurt already, and we keep in touch, and we have a round table once every 2 months where we get together and kind of, do alumni event recruiting also for the university a little bit. We support them here at university fairs sometimes. So that really depends how interactive you want to be with the network, I would say. But the network is alive and well. And whatever you put in, you can get out of it as well. And it gives you an opportunity also. I think that friends of mine that have used it, that I've talked to about it, says that everybody in the network or in the alumni network is very open to discuss. Just if you need advice, say, for example, you want to transition from an investment bank into a private equity fund, you can, I mean, there are a number of ESSEC alumni at Ardian, for example. They are a big recruiter from ESSEC. They were open to discuss with them, and this was ranging from, a portfolio head in the private equity department that doesn't have a lot of time either because he's working hard, but he takes the time to discuss from the alumni network at ESSEC. So I think it's a very active network. It's just how you choose to engage with it.
And so it's very important to do so. So you see, and what Nikolaus told you, it would depend a lot on what you're ready to put in the network. But I'm impressed because you do quite a lot. If you already attend events, recruitment, alumni association every 2 months, really students, they don't do much. So it means you're very involved and committed into your school.
Yeah.
Last question, because I don't want to use too much of your time. So, but last question. So, what was it like to prepare for ESSEC? Because the students that you have now, they are MD Center students. Okay, they are mainly from Europe, even because we have advertised the webinar only in Europe. Okay, now MD Center is global. Our students from South America, they cannot come for obvious reasons. But it's a pity because I have a student who is very good. Her name is Daniela. She's very, very good. She scored 750 on the GMAT, and she's absolutely bright. And I wish that she could have come because she's an economist for the Bank of Peru. She's 22, 750 GMAT, woman from Peru. ESSEC has identified her already. They already offered her a scholarship even before applying. So I'll give you an idea, but she's not with us now because they want diversity as well. You understand?
Obviously.
A woman from Peru who is an economist, not too bad. So what is it like to apply? And then I would ask Simon as well to discuss because Simon has applied already. They will also tell me, and we have a brother and a sister today. So what is it like to apply, Nikolaus?
I have to remember the process, to be honest, because the number of applications I shot out were sky high. But ESSEC, the application process was, I would say, rigorous, but in a good way. I mean, they asked the right questions. I remember you have to fill out, can't remember if it was 5 or 10 questions. They say questions, but they're more, I would say, miniature essays for each, to your job motivation, your motivation to study at ESSEC, what you bring to the school, what the school you think can bring to you. And then I had a number of interviews as well. I think I had 3 interviews with the professors in the next round after I got through the first round. That's how it was back then. And then you have the interviews in Paris in person. So I think the application process is pretty standard compared to any other university. I think the questions that they ask are a little bit more on point, and also, or that's what it was for me back then. I don't know what the process is now, unfortunately, but it wasn't like personal in the sense of that, you know, you were telling them your life story, but in the sense of that they were asking you to gauge if your profile also fits to the school. So they're very keen on selecting the right people to be in the program, to have a good balance between, I would say, the French culture and also an international culture, and really have a diverse and mixed group of people, and not just have, you know, all the French people that came from Paris go to ESSEC to finish their studies at a grande école. So that was my feeling, at least. But yeah, I mean, you apply with your GMAT, and then you send off your essays, and then you get invited for interviews. And then they deliberate, and then you get your answer online. So once that lucky day rolls around, you know, feel happy.
You get accepted, yeah.
You get accepted.
Okay, so Simon, I see that you have applied to ESSEC. I don't remember. Simon?
Yes,
Yeah.
hi, Hubert.
So, hello, Simon, can you introduce yourself? Because you are at the early stage, because you're still a student and you're completing an internship now. So Simon, so you have applied recently. So what it is like to apply to ESSEC? Have you applied to ESSEC? Yes, have you?
Yes, I have prepared my application already, but I have not yet submitted it because I still need my academic reference, but that will come soon. But yeah, so I think my application started with you about 7 to 8 months ago, and we prepped for the GMAT. Credits to you also, Hubert, because you prepped me very well. I must admit that.
So Simon got 760. So he's very good.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Significantly better than what I got.
Yeah, 760 is not bad. Huh? Yeah.
No, indeed, I was quite happy with that. No, and then I think mid-July I started writing the essays or preparing to write the essays, also together with Hubert. And I mean, Hubert, you gave me or you put me in the right direction. Like, okay, in this essay we follow this structure. You have to mention this, that, and yeah. Then I wrote the essays. So now I've done that, and I contacted my reference persons. So everything is now in place, and I only have to submit the application, and then wait for the.
Then shoot for it. Okay.
Indeed.
But you will. So you see, Nikolaus, Sarah as well, hopefully. Simon, they are now applying to MIT Sloan. They are also applying to the MIF. You see, but the MIT, they have a very specific process, and some of them probably we do it with Simon or not. By the way, maybe not. You see, they also apply for different MBAs as well. But I think in the case of Simon, he wants to go for an MIF, if possible at MIT, and he wants to start to work as an investment banker. I'm not sure that he wants to defer work and then do an MBA later on. I'm not sure. I don't think that's your plan today. So tell me, Simon, you at the early stage, because it's the first internship that you have in finance, internship that you have now. Okay. You have questions to Nikolaus, because Nikolaus is where you want to be in 5 years, roughly. Okay. So do you have questions for Nikolaus?
Well, yeah, I actually had some questions, but I think Nikolaus covered most of them already in the in his explanation he did earlier. I did miss the first part of the lecture, but if I heard correctly, you were based in London at Citibank?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And have you done internships, or have you worked anywhere else than London? Like you also mentioned continental Europe.
Yeah, I did an internship in Austria, in Germany. I worked at a private equity fund in China. I did an internship in Luxembourg at the European Investment Fund, also in private equity. So I've been all over the place to say yeah.
Yeah, because what I want to say, Simon, your father, by the way, is a professional in his field as well. But But let's say that way, Nikolaus, you have been brought up. Your father is an achiever, like your father, Simon. But Simon's father, Nikolaus' father, has an MBA from Wharton, which is a finance school. His father was a CEO of a bank in the Czech Republic. No, am I right? It was Czech Republic.
Yep.
The Czech Republic. So basically, he was born in finance. His sister Isabella is also working in finance. So basically, you are born in the right family, and your father has given you the direction. Huh? Okay, and you have followed. So of course, you see, Simon, when Nikolaus had applied, he already had like six internships already because he knew what he wanted to do. I knew you had a different life before that, but he was into finance since you were 18 years old. You have done internship in finance since you were 18 years old, Nikolaus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But of course. So you see, me at his age, I was playing tennis, and you, Nikolaus, you were a professional triathlete. You have a different life, okay? But at the end, you will have. Okay?
I wasn't spending my summers on the beach, at least.
Yeah, you were spending your summer, and because you have a beautiful house in the south of France, you told me. So yes, it's a question to ask you. But what is very important, and what I told you is that yes, Nikolaus insisted that it's important to have worked in IB or at least in an M&A boutique before applying, because it's not much for the school, but it's more for after. Okay. And by the way, I tell you, Nikolaus, I can see that the student that I had who have worked at least in corporate finance in a bank or in a M&A boutique, something, I see that they can get a job more easily into IB than those who have not worked there. Okay.
I think the key point here is that it gives us a reference point when we recruit. It gives us a clear reference point to say, look, we're hiring somebody that's already been in the field, even if they haven't been at the number 1 or 2. It really doesn't matter, as long as you understand the theory behind how valuation works, how the job functions. Honestly, the processes at a boutique and at a bulge bracket investment bank may be very different, but the work that you do is relatively similar. So for us, it's critical to see that you have had prior experience. It doesn't necessarily need to be in, JP Morgan summer analyst when you're 18, because you probably won't get it anyways, because they don't hire at that age. But it's very helpful to see that also there's progression in your CV. So let's say you start at Dr. Hubert Silly M&A boutique, and then you go to KPMG afterwards, and then you apply to a bank. We see, look, you've moved on, you've developed, you have certain names on your CV, but it really doesn't matter if they're high caliber names or if they're, it's more that you understand what you're talking about and that you've worked in the field.
So it's important that so if you can do an internship in an M&A boutique, it's not your case, Simon, but imagine that next year, before starting your MIF, you don't find anything. It's even better that you ask your father to find you something, an M&A mission, than work for Ernst & Young. Okay, that's the answer that we have to the question. So probably we have to reassess something. Sarah, thank you very much, Simon. Sarah, you also want to work in IB, probably, maybe in your case, maybe more private equity or asset management. You have a question, Sarah, to Nikolaus? By the way, it's funny because you see, Sarah, Nikolaus went to ESSEC, and his sister was my student. She went to LBS. So it's a bit like you with Simon. So you have a question, Sarah? Ask a question, please. Okay. It's very rare that we have an investment banker at MBA Center. So please, and was achieved already with an associate now. So if you have a question, go ahead.
At this point, I don't have any questions because my questions have already been answered, to be honest.
Yeah.
For sure, now that Simon has already asked some questions, I don't have any questions anymore, to be honest. But thank you for organizing the webinar. It's very useful.
Yes. So basically, it's inside. I know that because Pierre-Marc I know Pierre-Marc better than I know France. Whatever. France, you have a question for us, France? Because I know that you want to also work in IB. So by the way, France, it means that that if you decide to go for an MIF, it means that you have to resign and work in investment banking at least 2-3 months. You understand the thing. Franz, you have a question for us?
Actually, no. Like all my questions that I had noted down before have been answered. But it was really interesting because I can like, sorry, my voice is completely gone. But yeah, it's a very similar path that I envision to go.
Yeah, but it means in your case you have to resign, okay, to work a bit in this field, okay, to have experience, because you don't have experience in this field, so you have to find. So it means that after you have been accepted, you have to find an internship, something in a mission, okay.
Yeah.
So it's so important. So Pierre-Marc, you have a questions to Nikolaus?
Not really, no.
Yeah, you're right. So basically, to answer to your question, you told me Ernst & Young in Monaco or an M&A boutique in Ireland. You have the answer to the question. Okay. So see that we have answered to everybody. So of course it was very interesting, because you see, Nikolaus, in general, we have interviewed with students who have just been accepted. Okay. So first, they don't have much work experience. They're not very different from the students that attend the webinar, because they were like the student. They are successful students, but at the same time, they are not very knowledgeable. So of course, it's very important to have you. So basically, I would say, to sum up, that the strength of Nikolaus was this international exposure. Yes, I forgot that you have lived in Belgium as well. So yes, you live in Belgium, because your father has worked a bit everywhere. You have lived in Belgium, in France, in Austria. You were born on the Wharton campus, roughly. You were born when your father was studying at Wharton, no?
No, that's my sister. I was born in Düsseldorf in Germany.
Okay. So your sister was born when your father was completing his MBA at Wharton. So that's it. So very international focus, a lot of work experience. So they knew that with you they would not lose the thing. And I guess that you are a very good student at EBS. I forgot about your grades, but they were probably good. No, not that good. Yeah,
we're okay.
Well, okay,
not stellar, but you know,
lots of parties, Nikolaus. Okay, so I understand that
you shine through the internships.
Yeah, you shine. But you know, maybe you partied a bit too much at EBS, and you came to that. Okay, so it was nice to have you with us today. Okay. So I know. So now you're based in Frankfurt. So it means that when I come to visit EBS, because we work with, so my office in Zurich takes care of this part of the world, and we have teachers, so they are sent directly from Switzerland. But I will come anyway to work with them, and I will come to see you. So now, so basically, what you told me is that they have moved the city office to part of the city office to Germany.
We've always had an office here, but our sales and trading operations, or our brokerage services that used to be based in London, have been split between Frankfurt and Paris, with the main focus being here in Germany and Frankfurt.
Yeah, so because it's easier for them. Yeah, for many reasons, it's easier for them.
But this is more the markets-based business, not the investment bank.
Okay, and you have decided to be there as well, because for it was
home, the closest thing to home.
Quality of life is better. You agree, in Frankfurt, quality of life. You can have a big flat with the salary that you have. You can even buy one probably very easily. With 1 month's salary, you can already buy a flat.
Not that much, but yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's better. You get more bang for buck, I would say.
Yeah, of course. No, but as soon as you decide to go a bit outside Frankfurt, you can have a nice house probably outside there. And of course, quality of life in Frankfurt is great. You know, but you cannot compare. Of course, I love England, but of course, quality of life in Munich, in Berlin, in Frankfurt is far much better, because things are affordable, and it's not crazy, and it's quieter. And
I think both cities have their charms at the right time. London is fun when you're young. The older you get, it's probably better to be somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah, of course, if you want one day you want to raise a family, it would be difficult. And yes, you're close to home because your parents are still in Vienna. Your parents?
No, they're in London actually.
they moved to London. Okay, so they are with your sister, so they can see Isabella more often. So thank you very much for being with us, okay? And I think it's much appreciated what you do. And I will come to see you when I'm in Frankfurt. Thank you very
Sounds
much,
good.
Nikolaus.
Then I wish everyone the best
Okay.
best of luck for your applications.
Thank you very much for your commitment.